Is it changing? Can we point to communities that say these are stable, diverse, or integrated communities?
Well, that is one of the results of our research. You know, that when we found these rebound neighborhoods, one of the things we did is we started to look inside of them. What are they like? And what we found is that they're surprisingly diverse, economically
some people are
and
looking,
racially.
Some people are looking for that now.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think the evidence is clear. The millennial generation has different attitudes about race than the older generation, frankly, than our generation.
Right.
I really think it is. It's changed, and therefore, young people are looking for a place that has an edge to it, that has some vitality. They find that stimulating. It's not negative. Once again, I don't think I'm going to be too simplistic to say that race has gone away, right? But it's really different, especially for millennials, I think.
Yeah, Jim, I heard you ask that question earlier, and I just thought the answer is emphatically yes. There are integrated, stable neighborhoods where my organization has worked for a long time in the Fox Park and Tower Grove East neighborhoods in South St. Louis. I think, going back 10, 12, 15 years ago, it reached a point of stability and sustainability and integration to the point where today, the fact that, African-American family might move into a block is not a cause for panic at all. In fact, as you suggest, it's something that people are really looking for. And another neighborhood that we've been working in Botanical Heights, which has undergone more of a complete redevelopment, I'm quite sure, and I can't cite the statistics, but is more integrated today than before that redevelopment took place. So I think there are living examples that answer your question quite positively.
University City, I think, is a story of a community as in Oak Park in Chicago, where they said, okay, it's going to stop here, we're going to do some new things. Not totally successful, but still, that's that same story. I think you could look at that as a success, and maybe so much of a success that people have forgotten about it. Andy, in your work, especially on the east side, do you find some of these similar trends? Are we talking about besides two different states, two different attitudes or regions, or is the same? Do you see the same things happening there?
Well, I think that,
and again, it's a very diverse area, right?
It is a diverse area, and there certainly are pockets that are not diverse, but I think we see that rebound happening on both sides of the river, and I think it's because attitudes are changing with time. And I think in the last 20 years, isolation is I think we've determined that isolation is bad, and that we don't want to be isolated. We don't want to be isolated from other people. We don't want to be isolated from resources. We want to be able to go to these fun places and experience fun that maybe we didn't grow up with.
Yeah, and again, I want to go back to the work, Todd, that we're not talking about entire communities, except perhaps we used Maplewood as an example, but sometimes it's little sections of a community. Natalie, in the work that you do, we always, again, I'm going to ask this question again. People say we need to listen to the community. Do this community really know what they want, or they just want what I want? Don't give me that. I don't want that. And that's all I have to tell you.
One of the things that I really appreciated that Stephen, I believe, shared earlier in the hour was talking about the important role of data. And it seems like his experience seems to mimic ours at Beyond Housing. And so as we follow our process of ask, align, and act, where we ask the community what they want to see and then we align projects and resources and act, we have found that conversation, that data, that just as Stephen said, people are smart, but people are also level-headed enough to understand that if this is the reality of how much a single family house is going to cost, and this is how much money we really have, and this is what the gap is, and then you engage them in an authentic conversation about, so should we raise the money to fill that gap, or should we build a different housing product so the gap is smaller? People are very reasonable and will often make the decision that's best for the entire community, and what their neighbors are saying is absolutely possible, and it needs to be done.
But you need to get them involved in the conversation early. You can't come to them with a plan and say, what do you think of this plan? You get to complain about the plan? No. The idea is that you need to be up front. Let's talk about what this community needs first.
And it needs to be a conversation. And I think Natalie hit the nail on the head. It's got to be more than just ask and answer. It's a conversation. It's a dialogue. Correct. It's a back and forth, and dig a few questions deep and really get to those root issues, because there's compromise.
And it's relationship building. The relationship needs to happen before the plan happens. It's People are very suspicious, as perhaps they should be, of when you come in and say, I want to help you and I want to work with you, and there's no relationship there. So organizations and developers that can make connections and partners with key informants in a community are well served to do so.
Let's, Todd, I want to ask you, because I think people might be wondering, and I think there's some tweets we've gotten where it's like, okay, maybe you found a few places, right? Good for us. We've got a few places. But overall, it looks pretty bad, and the decay is rampant, and you've found a half a dozen places that are doing well.
Well, in our case, it's not a half a dozen. In fact, I think the number is 42 out of 218 census tracts we defined as rebound. I think
which doesn't mean the rest are not. Some of those are just stable. Right?
That's right. Some of them are stable, and some of them are in rough shape. I would submit that economic integration is tougher in many ways than racial and ethnic integration today, because we have such tremendous economic inequality. That's the real tough issue: is how do you get mixed income communities? And by the way, a lot of the communities we're looking at are somewhat mixed economically. Right?